I'm Ruben, then you Clay Aiken, but second place gets.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Today we've been talking about Monday Night Raw, September 19th, 2022. Another blandly competent episode of Monday Night Raw. Some really good stuff in it, but also some kind of cringe stuff in it. I'm going to start this video by upsetting some people because I'm going to talk about the War Games. And I'm not a fan. All right. Triple H announced via David Shoemaker and The Ringer that Survivor Series this year will be War Games main events. So guaranteed one man and one woman. So it's going to be Survivor Series rebranded. Well, they rebranded it. They're just adding War Games. So it's like Survivor Series War Games. And I don't like the War Games concept, you know. I'm going to lay out the reasons why I don't like the War Games concept. And if you've listened to my channel before, you probably already know what I'm going to say. But for those of you who this might be your first video, I'm going to give you a good reason why I don't like the War Games. The number one reason why I don't like the War Games match is because the match is guaranteed to be 25 minutes, but you can't win, nor can you lose before 25 minutes is up. So the way that the War Games works, if you've never seen one before, because for some reason there are still people out there who have never seen a War Games match. They come in 5-minute intervals. They might shrink that to 4 minutes. They might shrink it to 3. Whatever. But there's 5-on-5, which is a traditional Survivor Series thing. It's a 5-on-5 match. But they come in at intervals, which would be in the old War Games, and I think in most War Games matches, it's 5 minutes. So that means you're guaranteed 25 minutes of people in a ring, in 2 rings, by the way, hitting each other and punching each other and doing spots, and none of it can actually end. So that means you're going to do the most ridiculous spots you can possibly do while there's very few people in the cage. And then you just lay there because you can't win. You can't pin anybody. You can't make anybody submit. Only when the entire team is present can you actually win the match. And to me, you suck all of the drama out of a match when you tell people it cannot end before this point. I've had this problem with pretty much all matches of the same type. You know, the Elimination Chamber, you can lose that match. You can't win it before everybody gets in the ring, but you can lose it. The Royal Rumble. You can lose the Royal Rumble before number 30 comes in. You can't win before the number 30 comes in, but you can certainly lose. The War Games, you can't win or lose before the last person comes in. Extended upon that point, there was a TNA match, the King of the Mountain, where you couldn't win the match until you pinned somebody first. And then you can hang the championship only after you've pinned somebody. And it just seems ridiculous to me that we have to go through all that. You destroy the drama, the tension, the threat of being inside of a cage by saying, oh, no matter what you do to this person, you could machine gun them to death. You can't win the match. So that just means going there and machine gun people to death. So you're going to have a bunch of spots, and eventually it's going to get boring. Eventually it's just going to get boring with these guys just punching and hitting each other with garbage can lids and jumping off top of the cage, and they're going to bring in some weapons. Like, okay, sure. But it's all going to get boring because, for starters, there's going to be 2 of them. So that means there's guaranteed over an hour of the show accounted for. And it's basically just a lazy gimmick. So now an hour of the show is accounted for. Survivor Series is already accounted for these War Games matches, because both of them are going to be about 30 minutes apiece, at the very least. So I don't like matches where you can't fucking win. You know, I don't want to sit and watch people just fight. I want to see people try to fucking win. If you can't win, what am I watching? I'm watching you do exercises in the ring. That's boring. You know, and I've always felt this way about War Games. You know, which is why I never really, put them into memory like that. Some of them were fun, sure. Some of them had memorable moments, sure. But I was never a huge fan of the War Games match for that very reason. You can't win the match until over 30 minutes into the match has actually occurred. There's not going to be any blood. The weapons are going to be the same weapons we see at, Elimination Chamber and all the other shows. It's going to be kendo sticks. It might, break out a chain. It might break out a garbage can lid. So they're not going to do anything really interesting from that perspective. At least I don't think so. That would surprise me, but there's nothing really that you could do in the match that's going to make it, all that interesting. So it's basically going to be a 2-ring Hell in a Cell match that, WWE has, which is okay, I guess, because some of these Hell in a Cell matches are pretty good. And I don't have a problem with that. Another issue I have with the War Games concept being used is that the War Games has been blown out already. GCW has been done one. They just did the Art of War Games. They did it like a month ago. About a month ago, AEW did Blood and Guts. It's like, fuck. Everybody's doing this already. Instead of making what you do better, it becomes just copycat everybody else. And it's, but WWE owns the rights to WCW. It's like, everybody is doing War Games already. It is, Impact has their own version of War Games. It's like, what are we going to do? We're going to change the Royal Rumble to be World War III because 3 rings, bro. It's so cool. It's like, no, it's not. Like this idea that what you have is somehow lesser and it could be better or improved or evolved or however the fuck he put it. It's like the only thing that was wrong with Survivor Series was there was no stakes. There was nothing to be gained or lost at the Survivor Series. War Games is pretty much the same fucking thing. There's nothing to be gained or lost in War Games, really. There's been a ton of War Games matches and very little has come out of them. And they're almost always a faction versus a group of scrappy underdogs. And of course, in order for the match to make any sense, the heels have to have the man advantage. So that has led NXT to do weird stuff like giving the baby faces the man advantage. Why? Because we have to shake things up. We have to do things. That's the negative stuff about Shawn and Triple H being in control is they understand the traditions. And then sometimes they want to buck the tradition. And that's fine to a degree. And we can talk about some of that stuff where, it might be the right thing to do to buck tradition. But when you start doing things because we have to find some way of making our version interesting, because we're going to be the one guys who have a War Games match and there's no blood and there's no ultra violence or anything like that. And there probably won't be a lot of spot monkeys in there either. How are you going to make it interesting for 25 minutes? 25 minutes of people fighting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I don't know. That's going to be very difficult. And of course, like I said, no blood, no weapons. And it's something that everybody else has been doing. I just think that maximizing what you have is better than the grass is greener. It's like, I know that, and this is, again, fan service. How many people have sat back and fantasy booked War Games being at Survivor Series? And it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people fantasy booked War Games at Survivor Series, and Vince didn't want to do it because it doesn't make any fucking sense to do it. If you're going to put a cage match on this show, fucking Elimination Chamber was built for Survivor Series. It was literally introduced at Survivor Series. It's already a WWE creation. You are already doing War Games in NXT. That's where you dumped all your WCW horse shit because that's where Dusty had all of his influence. Dusty created the War Games match, for the record. So this concept, you want to use it in NXT, it makes sense. With a lot of the other Dusty creations, like, the Great American Bash, or you want to do a bunkhouse brawl or some crap, Dusty's his fingertips is all over NXT. Okay, fine. But main roster WWE should not have fucking War Games matches. Because you don't need them. This system, the way that it was, if you want to change up the Raw versus SmackDown concept, I thumbs up to that, because that was horseshit, especially since you didn't get anything for winning. But you're not really going to get anything for winning here either, unless they're going to do something slick like and plus for me, I can already see how it's going to go. It's going to be the Bloodline versus a bunch of scrappy underdog baby faces. They're going to beat Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn's going to take the loss. He's going to get blamed for losing, and that's going to be the turning point in his storyline. And I was glad that Triple H said it's always going to be very storyline driven. Okay, great. But telling us, 2 months ahead of time that there's going to be a War Games match without building to it, just telling people, oh, there's going to be a War Games match. Like, oh, okay, thanks for that. I thought it didn't say it's going to be storyline driven. Like, storyline driven would be it develops within the storyline, not you telling me 2 months before it occurs that, oh yeah, we're going to have this kind of match. And it's just more Triple H trying to make everybody happy. And I'm just kind of like, bro, now you got people trying to put together these, fantasy booking these teams, and none of this shit looks good or it makes any fucking sense. And then you look at the teams, it's just kind of like, we know that the Bloodline is going to be in one of them, and we know Damage Control is going to be in the other one, because that's what we're looking at right now. Damage Control only has 3 members, so that means we're going to have to add 2 more members to that team. Okay, who could it possibly be? I don't know. Do I really care? No, because Damage Control not really even over. And when it comes to the Bloodline, we know that, Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre is going to be 2 of the guys. Maybe Riddle's going to be another one. There's going to be 2 more guys, probably the Street Profits or somebody like that. And they're going to be involved with that thing. And to me, it's okay. But, it's another one of those things where, again, 25 minutes. 25 minutes we're looking at of guys just doing shit to each other. But you can't win. You can't win. You can't pin anybody. You can't make anybody submit. So really, what is the point of doing all this horrible shit to each other they're going to end up doing? Or you can make it even more boring and all they can do is throw fists at each other. I don't know, man. To me, I don't like it. Triple H also said that it would be irresponsible to go back to using blood, which he is, correct, because of how the blood is created. I'm okay with blood in wrestling, honestly. But I'm also okay with blood being banned. I understand why they banned it. I understand why they don't want the blood. WWE as being the global leader in pro wrestling is one of the negative things about it, because they are the global leader. They can't really go backwards, They can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. They've banned blood, and they're being watched. And they're a PG product, but you want to set a standard for the business. And if everybody's cutting themselves on TV and it's visible, that sends a bad little bad thing to the industry. It's one thing for AEW to do it on national TV and people to turn them into a laughing stock. It's another thing for GCW to do it in the bingo halls in the middle of nowhere, or the rock concert halls or whatever in the middle of nowhere. It's one thing for them to do it. It's another thing for WWE to do it. And I still think they will use blood, and they probably use it sparingly. Like, I think they're going to do very quote unquote strategic hard ways, where it's going to be guys, oh, I'm hard way right here on my eyebrow, right where I would usually cut with a razor. I'm going to, jab my elbow right there and, get some real blood. But considering that came out just moments after he, got everybody all excited about War Games, it's like, are you sure this is the War Games that you want? Because none of those NXT War Games matches are memorable, except for maybe the one Undisputed Era War Games match. I think it might have been 2019. The rest of them, eh. And then, of course, being in modern day, there's going to be a women's War Games match. And I think that it's stolen a lot of intrigue, a lot of interest, that you have these women's Elimination Chambers matches, women's Royal Rumbles, because they give them the opportunity to sort of either, steal the show, or to do all of the spots and then make the guys look terrible. Because there's been the Royal Rumbles have gotten really worse in quality since they started being 2 of them per event. Like the Royal Rumble was, depending on how you book it, the Royal Rumble can be pretty iffy. The booking of the Royal Rumble has been a issue lately, which is, one of the reasons why I say, like, people are like, they changed the Survivor Series because the booking of Survivor Series has been kind of soft. And I agree with that. But, the booking of the Royal Rumble has also been soft. So we're going to change that too? You're going to put 6 rings? Why stop at 3? Why stop at 2? Let's put everybody in. Let's put 60 people in it, because WCW thought that more was better. Say, you have a Royal Rumble 30 men? Okay, we'll do 60 and 3 rings. And you can't follow shit. You don't know what the fuck is going on. And I forgot to mention that when it comes to the War Games match, because there's 2 rings, you're going to be constantly losing account of people. There's going to be some guy taking a nap in the corner over here. Some guy taking a nap in the corner over there. It's like, you could have done a 10-man Hell in a Cell match if that's what you wanted to do, or something like that. But that 2 rings, War Games bullshit, man, it's just for the internet marks, though. Like, for real, like, most people under the age of 40 ain't never fucking seen one. I've seen so many people asking, what the fuck is a War Games match? It's amazing they've been having them in NXT for 2 or 3 years, and people still have never seen one before. And I say, if you want to see a War Games match, don't watch the NXT ones. Go watch the old ones. Like Sting Squadron, I think, against the 4 Horsemen, I think that was one of them. Then, of course, people are going to complain almost immediately, which is another reason why I don't like it, because the people who are calling for it, begging for it, they're going to turn around and complain because there's not going to be a roof on it, because WWE doesn't put the roof on the cage, which is classic War Games. WWE does pinfalls and submissions in the War Games match. They don't do submission or surrender, which is the same fucking thing. But which is the traditional War Games rules, is submission or surrender. They're not going to do that. You still may have submissions, but they're also going to have pinfalls. So it's going to be a match that people are going to complain about anyway. And look, it's going to be a great spectacle. I give them credit for that. But I'm not interested. Like, they're going to have to work really, really hard to get me to care about a fucking War Games match, because I haven't cared about a War Games match in 20 some odd years. It's going to be I would rather you do, I'm not going to be ridiculous. I'm about to say do a Thunder Cage. I'm not going to be ridiculous. But it's just going to be hard to get me to care about a match where I know that at least 30 minutes has to go by before anything happens. That's just hard to get me interested in. It's going to be very difficult. All right, I spent too much time on that, but I wanted to make sure that at least some people understand it. I understand that a lot of people are not going to like that. They're going to say, "Oh, you're a killjoy. There's nothing wrong with a little fan service." It's like, yeah, it is. When you start letting these people think that they're booking the show, they start doing stupid shit. Like, this show is going to be super expensive because you're going to build a whole nother fucking ring in there. Like, you got to build a second ring, and it has to be there all night. All night. That means there's going to be people going back and forth and all night in the fucking 2 rings. That's annoying as fuck. And no, I hate that shit. I cannot stand it. Can't stand it. But it is what it is. We're stuck with it. I can't change it. And then people instantaneously think that it's a good thing because Triple H is doing it. When I'm looking at it like, I understand you wanted to shake up Survivor Series. It's needed a shaking up. It really does. But this ain't it. Just basically dropping Survivor Series and rebranding it as War Games is bullshit. And want to keep the Survivor Series name. But, the main event is not a Survivor Series match. And there's no even conception that there will be Survivor Series matches. So it's like, obviously Bianca Belair is going to be in the Damage Control War Games match. And if she loses the belt to Bayley, Bayley will be in that match. So there's not going to be a women's title match on that show. This is a SmackDown women's match. If Roman is going to be in the Bloodline War Games match, then it won't be a title match either. So we're stuck with this. We're stuck with this horse shit. Maybe they'll get lucky and they'll put together a team that's interesting and it'll be okay. But I guarantee you, anybody's like, oh, if they put Brock Lesnar in it, you'll be excited. I know Brock is going to come in last. He's not going to go in first and have to work for 25 minutes. He's not going to do that. So, I already know how it works. I know Roman ain't going in there first and going to work 25 minutes. So, to me, it's just kind of like, we already know the big stars are going to come in last. That means the work rate guys are going to go in first. Just like the Elimination Chamber. You better off just doing Elimination Chamber and, having a smaller roster of people involved with it. To me, it's a similar concept, but I like the Elimination Chamber better because, again, you can eliminate people, but you can't win until everybody comes in. But you can get people out of there. People can't lose. Now, clearly, this War Games concept, which Triple H has been trying to get Vince to do for a long time, even though Vince didn't want to do it. Clearly, this is a way for Roman to lose a match without losing. He's going to get beat in this match without actually losing. And going to make his next opponent or whatever, which probably be his opponent for the Royal Rumble, look decent. But to me, I'm just kind of like, I'm just shrugging. Again, I'm not looking forward to that whole, we have to sit and wait to see what's going to happen. Because I doubt that fucking match is going to be any interesting stuff. I still went longer than I want to. But I've been griping all day about this fucking War Games match because I don't like the fucking War Games idea. I just don't like it. So, I'll be the killjoy. I'll be the one guy saying, I don't like this shit. While everybody else is being super jubilant because Papa H is listening to me. Papa H is reading my mind. I'm going to get a War Games match. And then now you're going to think you'll get that 3-ring circus. And I'm not interested in that shit either. Let's get into the show. There is some stuff to talk about on Raw. Bobby Lashley defeats Seth Rollins in the first match for the United States to retain the United States Championship. Cool block of the stomp by Lashley by just not going down. By just planting his arms. And he doesn't go down. I don't know about you guys, but Lashley reminds me of Piccolo. Maybe because I was watching Dragon Ball earlier. I was watching Dragon Ball Superhero. I finally found a stream of it. But every time I looked at I watched that and then I watched Raw and I was just kind of like, you know what? Lashley reminds me a lot of Piccolo. Soft spoken, just muscular for no reason, bald as hell. And he just kind of, just really shit on the stomp, which I thought was great. Another great spot was the buckle bomb into the frog splash by Seth Rollins. I thought that was good. The spear into the pedigree spot is almost always awesome. It was very good. Well placed low blow in the hurt lock, with the ref bump. That was very nice. Riddle comes to the ring. They even played his theme song, which is classic WWE shenanigans. He distracts Seth Rollins, turns around, Rollins gets speared. He wins. Later in the show, Riddle and Rollins get into it again. This time it was during the Judgment Day Riddle Mysterio match. Riddle earlier in the night said that he's coming back for some sweet revenge, bro. Sweet vengeance. And he's going to help Ray get some sweet vengeance on Judgment Day. And he joked that Judgment Day looked like the goth kids from South Park. Rey Mysterio cut a promo, said that if only he'd known all the resentment that was pent up inside of Dominic, he could have stopped Judgment Day from infiltrating his mind and manipulating him. And said that Edge will be out for a long time, but he'll never give up. He'll never give up on Dominic either. And that everything that he's ever done was for Dominic and to create a legacy for Dominic to follow if Dominic wanted it. This led to Riddle coming out there and basically they kind of gave each other a pep talk and decided to go have the tag team match. So Judgment Day versus Riddle and Mysterio was the fourth match on the show. Rhea talked about how no one is going to stop them. And now, especially now that Dominic is all man. Finn Balor talked about how Dominic is brave for standing up to his father. And Damian Priest said that he's a man willing to fight his own battles. Dominic got the microphone and was booed out of the building. I mean, the boos were so loud. And it was phenomenal. Like, it's been a long time since somebody got a legit fan reaction like that. And I think it made Dominic more confident to get that reaction because he sounded a lot less stilted in his talking. He looked a little bit looser. He looked to be enjoying himself. You know, he was laughing at the crowd who was booing him. He spoke a little bit and he got booed out of the building. And it went on for a while. He didn't get a chance to say nothing. I'm talking, he had molten heat. He had molten heat. It was awesome. This ruled. His promo didn't even matter what he said. Him just appearing on screen elicited so much heat. It was incredible. Truly incredible. And I think this might be the turning of the dial where now he feels a little bit more comfortable being himself after getting that reaction. And Judgment Day seemed to be having fun with this reaction too, which I think is a surprise to everybody. It was certainly a surprise to me. I didn't think anybody gave a shit about Judgment Day whatsoever. But it turns out this crowd, which is a San Jose crowd, they actually do care about Judgment Day. And I think it's close to San Diego. I don't know how close San Jose is from San Diego, but, you know, that's the Mysterio's hometown, you know, and this punk kid turned on his dad. You know, it was an awesome reaction. So let's get into the match. The match itself was really good. They beat Ray again because, well, why not? You know, why not? Ray loses to the coup de grace. During the match, Seth Rollins attacked Riddle. Was about to hit Riddle with a chair. Ray saved him, snatched the chair. Then Dominic sacrificed himself by, you know, daring Ray to hit him with the chair. Of course, Ray was never going to do it. They stood there and froze there long enough to give people the idea that Ray would, but you know Ray would never do that. Ray is a super baby face. He'd never do that. But he went back in the ring and clearly got beat. Riddle chased Seth Rollins away, and they were fighting backstage when Seth Rollins said, "Enough is enough. Anywhere, anyhow, you pick the rules." And Matt Riddle picked the Fight Pit for Extreme Rules. And I did the praise hands because this is finally an idea that works. This is something that you can do that it's been done before in terms of the Lion's Den. But people don't really remember that. It was a long time ago, you know, and I'm all about it. I'm all about the Fight Pit. It was such a fun concept. And they used it, I think, twice in NXT. This rules. This is good. Rollins, Riddle, Fight Pit. This is going to be the big match for me when it comes to Extreme Rules. This is going to be great. So let me give Triple H some credit for this one. This one rules. He gets a thumbs up for this. I'm looking forward to Riddle and Rollins. I'm looking forward to it. This probably should be the main event. Since Roman isn't wrestling on the show, this should be the main event of their of Extreme Rules. Because it's a match most people have never seen before. And I saw Ken Shamrock was tweeting some stuff. And I was hoping that, you know, he said there's some interesting things going on in the WWE. Hopefully he'll be like the referee or something like that. Maybe he'll be involved in some way. Maybe they'll actually talk about the Lion's Den and how it ties to the Fight Pit and everything. That could be fun. Like if they got Ken Shamrock involved with this, That's one of those fan servicey things that I think actually works. Because Ken Shamrock, brought the Lion's Den concept, which is what the Fight Pit essentially is, to the WWE. And he, being a guy who could be like the referee, the only man who could keep them apart or who could understand what they were going through and everything, could be fun. That could be fun. And that could also be quite harmless when it comes to fan service. So I'm all about the Fight Pit. Hopefully Ken Shamrock can get involved. That would be great. I'm really looking forward to that. Interestingly enough, I kind of forgot about the celebration for Judgment Day. They were backstage, and Dominic told Damian Priest that he heard stories, and he's interested in the party. Oh, God. And that got the computers puting for show, as everybody made their little inferences about Damian Priest and his parties. The Velveteen Dream story. But interestingly enough, they tweaked up the whole relationship between Dominic and Rhea. They're not calling her Poppy anymore. They're calling her Mommy now. Okay, whatever. It's less creepy, but it implies more a sexual relationship between the two of them, which is, bizarre. And I guess that's kind of where they're taking the story now. As before, it seemed more like Rhea was in control. Therefore, the whole Poppy thing kind of was different. And so, in so much that she was in control of him in a more masculine way, which of course is very weird. But it didn't imply sexually. Now it kind of implies, sexually that they're interested in each other. But there's no lovey-dovey anything between the two of them. She just kind of whispers things in his ears. Things about Damian Priest's parties, apparently. Dominic is about to go start taking bumps of a different kind. It's going to be like an episode of Euphoria in there. Anyway, let's move on. Out of the corner of his eye, Finn Balor sees AJ Styles. AJ Styles, who's practically been on a milk carton for the last 2 months. And he goes over there. They act like they're old buddies. AJ Styles reminds him, you turned your back on me and joined Judgment Day. This was a long time ago, by the way. A long time ago. Finn Balor says he's always been there for AJ, but he thought he's coming to meet an old friend. But AJ's acting like he wants to fight. Does he want to fight? And AJ wasn't backing down from the fight, but Finn Balor was like, oh, no, you don't want to fight. And then said that he wants AJ Styles in Judgment Day. And AJ Styles says he wants nothing to do with Judgment Day. So, I'm interested in this. This is excellent. Clearly, AJ Styles versus Finn Balor, feud and match, gets a thumbs up from me. I am 100% game for that. So, all of this was good. All of this was good. AJ Styles should have been involved with this story from the beginning. He was there. He was Finn Balor's partner the day before Finn Balor joined Judgment Day. How he ended up, being one of the last fucking guys to get involved with this story is beyond me. But also there is some rumor and innuendo, some whispers in the wind about the Good Brothers coming back. And I am not a fan of that. Now, it would be an interesting thing for Judgment Day to have to face, the OG. What were they calling themselves in WWE? Not the club. The OC. Wasn't it the original club? That's what they called themselves? I must be thinking of, I don't know. I want to say OGK so bad, but that's definitely Matt Taven. It might be it. So I'm thinking of, OC. It's the OC and the club or whatever. I guess it's another faction for Judgment Day to feud with. If, and AJ Styles was on the phone when Finn Balor walked up to him, and Triple H loves his Easter eggs, which I don't mind that. I don't mind the Easter eggs. I actually like that. The little seedlings that grow into something later. So when we see AJ Styles for the first time in forever, he's actually on the phone. So we don't know who he was talking to. He could have been talking to the Good Brothers, which could be fun. But I'm notoriously not a fan of the Good Brothers. I'm notoriously not a fan of the Good Brothers. But from what I understand, Triple H, and he was the one who talked to Good Brothers into staying when the Good Brothers wanted to jump ship to AEW before they got cut. It was actually Triple H that told them, that he liked them and he wanted them to stick around. And it was Vince and all those guys who got them fired in the first place. Well, technically it was Paul Heyman. But, Vince just didn't stop it. He was just kind of like, whatever, fire the fucking guys. I don't need them. But it's possible now that they're done with Impact. The Good Brothers, they're finished up with Impact, that they could be coming back. I don't know, man. I'm not a huge fan. Like, how many times do they have to fire Luke Gallows? Like, how many times, dog? Like, they fired the fucking guy like 3 or 4 times. I think he has broken the record for how many times you can be fired from the WWE. And is he coming back for more? Will he come back for more? Now, I think he would come back to do some stuff with Finn and AJ. But then what about after that? I don't know. But Good Brothers with AJ Styles versus Judgment Day, I like that idea. Finn versus his friends, I like that idea. Eventually, all 4 of them, Finn, AJ, and the Good Brothers working together, I like that idea. I just don't like the Good Brothers. That's... I like the optics of it. I don't mind it. I just looking at it and saying to myself, God, I have to deal with these fucking guys. They're so immature and they're so stupid and they're so unfunny and uncool. At the same time, though, if it'd get us more AJ Styles on the screen, especially since he's not going to be around much longer, if it could elevate the Finn Balor character, am I willing to deal with the Good Brothers in order to elevate people I actually do like? Yeah, I think so. Plus, the tag team division could probably use their expertise at this point. They've been gone for 2 years. They can be new introductions to the tag team division. They could really help. But I'm not a huge fan of the Good Brothers. I'm cringing thinking about it, and they haven't even signed the contract and come in yet. So, all right, I just can't wait to how bad I'm going to feel when it actually happens. But I'm loving Judgment Day. They're loosening up. They're not as stiff as they were before. They're actually showing a little bit more personality, especially Finn Balor, with the do-rag last week, the bandana, which I didn't mention. It was just so over the top, and it was something I noticed, and I was just kind of like, "What the hell?" But there was so much other stuff going on that you miss things. But this has been the Judgment Day is starting to grow. They're starting to finally gel, I think. So this is a good thing. They're doing some really good stuff. Next, we had the Damage Control celebration, which doubled as a Bayley welcome home celebration or a homecoming celebration. Not that anybody cared really, because Damage Control is still not really getting that much of a reaction. Bayley said she didn't appreciate the boos, and that she thanked Io and Dakota for believing in her. And then Io said that they're in control now that they're the champions, and Dakota Kai cut the bulk of the promo by saying that they needed each other, but the division needed them. But what they don't need is Asuka, Bianca Belair, and Alexa Bliss. And then she even mentioned that Bianca Belair has been phoning it in because she forgot what it was like to be pinned. And now it's time for all of them to pack it up now that they're the champions. It's time for them to move on. This led Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, and Asuka to come out there. Bayley just kind of continued to tease Bianca Belair about the big match by saying that you're too impulsive. We fight on my terms, and you don't see the big picture. So Alexa Bliss kind of steps in her very bland way. It's like she is just tasteless right now. Alexa Bliss she's a rice cake at this point. Like, I don't know how old some of you guys are, but do you remember when rice cakes were even invented? And it was kind of a diet thing, like, oh yeah, we want you to, want you to get fat, eat rice cakes. and then there was like rice cakes everywhere. That's kind of what Alexa Bliss is, you know? Like, she is the original concept of the graham cracker. Like, graham crackers were created to kill your libido. That's kind of how Alexa Bliss is now. Like, she is incredibly boring. I mean, she's boring as shit. Bailey even says that Alexa Bliss used to give her so many problems and used to be a thorn in her side, but not anymore. Alexa Bliss just doesn't have it anymore. Alexa said that if they keep talking, Io and Dakota will be accessories to what she's going to do to Bailey. Then Bailey, of course, then said she was a shell of herself. She's not a real fighter. Then Alexa challenged her to a match. Bailey accepted. Then Alexa knocked her to the ground, led to a little bit of a pull-apart brawl, but not much of one. Then the main event saw Bailey versus Alexa Bliss, and you know, it was what it was. They showed clips and highlights to remind people of how cool Alexa Bliss used to be. There was a little bit of chicanery there. I think the light shut off and cut back on. So they're telling a story with this Alexa Bliss not being good stuff. I'm guessing they're going to try to, and if they were smart, this is what they would do. They would tie it into her whole therapy thing. That, you know, the therapy has kind of made her bland, you know, and she's fighting against her real urges to be herself or whatever. I don't think she needs to have magic powers. I think she was interesting before she had the magic powers. But, you know, I think the magic powers is basically the heights of whichever she's going to achieve. You know, it's just unfortunate that she's incredibly bland and incredibly boring at this particular time. Especially now that they're talking about, oh yeah, we're going to do a War Games match and she's probably going to be in it. You know, she's not somebody I'm really all that interested in seeing on TV at the moment. You know, and it's very unfortunate. You know, like, I'm not thrilled about seeing Alexa Bliss on my TV right now. She's not good. She's not doing good stuff. You know, but whatever. Bailey wins the match. Her team then beats down Bianca and her team. Then Bailey challenges Bianca Belair to a match, just a regular match at Extreme Rules. Okay, I guess we saw this coming. You know, this is perfectly fine. No problems here. I don't really have an opinion one way or the other. A lot of people seem to think that Bailey should win, which is not the wrong idea because Bianca has been sidelined in this whole damage control story. You know, they've been focusing a lot on Bailey and her group trying to get them over, when in reality, you know, they need characters, not just FaceTime. They don't have the personality. And they don't have the chemistry. They don't come across as people who have been working together for a long time. You know, or even people who really respect each other. They don't dress similarly. They don't talk similarly. There's no connective tissue between the three members of this group. It's just three people in a group. And now this is why, you know, Vince turned down ideas. You know, I get it that people want to have ideas. But it's like, oh yeah, Bailey pitched this to Vince. And Vince was like, no. So yeah, Triple H is giving you what you want, which is Dakota Kai and Io. But everybody's looking at it like, okay, thanks for that, but why are they friends? What do they have in common? We've been in here for about a month now, and we haven't answered those questions, so we're stuck with this. Second match on the show, Austin Theory loses to Kevin Owens. Of course he did, because why wouldn't he lose to Kevin Owens? Kevin Owens is the young upstart that's being, you know, pushed to the moon here. He was distracted by Johnny Gargano, who stole his money in the bank before he could use it to hit Kevin Owens with it, which is fine, I guess. You know, whatever. Johnny Gargano, Jesus. Later, Johnny Gargano runs up to Alpha Academy. Alpha Academy sides with Austin Theory, saying that you cross him, you cross them. And then Kevin Owens sides with Johnny Gargano. he bragged about beating Chad Gable already. And then Chad challenged them to a tag team match in Canada next week. I cringed some more because now we got to deal with the double barrel cringe of Johnny Gargano and goddamn Kevin Bam Bam Owens. Motherfucker, you know. I'm not going to even waste time bitching about what's going on with Austin Theory. It's just weird. It's just a weird thing where they're not giving that kid nothing. He's getting nothing. You know, like, what the fuck? He's taking bumps for no fucking reason at this point. Because he's always going to be held down by these fucking guys. Gargano, whatever. I enjoyed his match with Chad Gable, but I don't understand why Alpha Academy and Austin Theory are best buds. Like, I know that they've done stuff together before, but for them to stand up for his honor is a little weird. But I guess we're in a position where, you know, we're asking too many questions. All right, so there was some QR code stuff here. They've been playing White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane throughout the arenas over the weekend. They played it on Raw. They played the acapella version where it's just the woman singing. When it comes to Jefferson Airplane, I prefer Today, you know, which is a better song to me. But this song has meaning. You know, it's based on Alice in Wonderland, even though it's about drugs. It's really about, they literally talk about taking mushrooms in the song. So a lot of people think this is Bray Wyatt. And I was, you know, pontificating about that because, you know, there was a white rabbit in the Firefly Funhouse. And the white rabbit in the Firefly Funhouse was always getting killed off because he was optimistic and he was actually good. You know, he was a good guy, and they were constantly doing horrible stuff to him because, you know, why does he want to be nice? Why does he want to be optimistic? And it was an interesting thing to consider when you consider that, you know, these creatures, the witch and everything, were supposed to be aspects of Bray Wyatt's personality and his persona, that you would kill the white rabbit, but the white rabbit keeps coming back. You know, kind of tells you that the white rabbit is persistent, that the white rabbit is, in some ways, as powerful as the other aspects, because he has an almost immortal concept of he can be destroyed, but he always just return. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe Bray Wyatt's going to be the Mad Hatter and he's going to do this white rabbit thing. I'm not against it. Don't like it. I mean, don't hate it rather, but it's just one of the things that is out there in the world. Not necessarily something I believe, but just something that's out there in the world. I've also seen people say it was Karrion Kross. I don't see the reason why it would be Karrion Kross. He's already doing stuff. He's already on the show. What would be the reason to change his gimmick all of a sudden out of nowhere? Like, what would be the reason for that? You know, I don't know. And plus, change Karrion Kross's gimmick to something from Lucha Underground. Now, this ain't. I just spent 20 minutes complaining about Triple H wanting to use WCW shit in WWE. I wouldn't be surprised if he decided, oh yeah, we're going to use some Lucha Underground shit too. But I don't think it's Karrion Kross. Somebody actually planted it in my mind that it's going to be Joe Gacy. And that was very interesting to me. That was a very interesting concept to me. Not that, you know, I want it to be Joe Gacy, but it's something that is intriguing that it could be somebody other than Bray Wyatt, but somebody with a similar kind of gimmick. It doesn't have to be Bray Wyatt or Karrion Kross. It could be Joe Gacy. You know, so anyway, the White Rabbit had a QR code. It went to a little bit of a mini game where they played Hangman, and it says, "Who killed the world?" It said, "You did." Then I guess we're supposed to find out who this person is on September 23rd, because 9/23 came up. This was very interesting. This is very intriguing. I like how they're doing this because they're not publicizing it, and giving it tons of attention. So if you're not paying attention, you just don't get it. Like that's just kind of how it is. If you're not paying attention, you won't get it. Like I missed the QR code because I wasn't paying attention. And what ended up happening was it popped up in a backstage segment with Austin Theory, and he was lifting weights or something like that. So I like that. Reward me for paying attention. Maybe I'll pay closer attention. I honestly won't. But the White Rabbit could also be somebody completely out of the box and not a supernatural character at all anyway. To me, they got to nail this. It has to be somebody that's actually very good, somebody that people are actually very interested in. The last time they tried to do that whole thing with the QR codes, it ended up being just fucking Zoe Stark. And that was a huge disappointment. And I think all of this stuff that they're doing is interesting. It's ginning up a lot of interest without them spending too much money. And people are basically doing it on their own. This is basically citizen marketing where the people are recording in the arenas and then playing it. It could just be buffer music WWE is using. What would make them think it was something special? But it turns out it is something special. And now it's been floating around. It's got people very excited for Friday. And that's a good thing. You're building some anticipation, but they got to stick the landing. They got to stick the landing. You have to give people something that is going to be very, very interesting. Because now everybody's going to be looking at SmackDown like, you promised me Bray Wyatt. So you have to you got to deliver. You got to deliver something. If you can't deliver Bray, you better deliver something of high enough quality that people are going to be okay with the several days of taunting that you did. Especially since Triple H, Mr. Fan Service. Oh no, the internet's going to be mad at me. Me and my friend Mark, we're not going to wrestle. We're not going to watch it anymore. How far have we fallen from that? Triple H to, you guys want to have war games? Oh yeah, sure. Well, whatever. So the QR codes, as long as they nail it, it's nothing wrong with it. But if they whiff that joint, man, it's going to be an uproar. They can't whiff it. All right, third match on the show, the Brawling Brutes defeated the Street Profits. The Brawling Brutes was out there without Sheamus. Interesting. The Street Profits were wearing baseball jerseys, which were very hard. Those were dope jerseys. And they lost, which, whatever. Just whatever. The Street Profits are apparently not ever going to go back to where they were in terms of being, one of the hottest tag teams. They're basically just a gatekeeper team. And this is what happens when teams stay together too long in WWE. They don't know what to do with them. They have, things here and there. But also, it's a situation where the Brawling Brutes are about to wrestle for the titles. And they want them to look legitimate. So they're going to have them come on Raw, beat an established tag team, and say, hey, these guys could possibly win, right? And then everybody else is going to be like, they're not winning, and we know it. What are you doing, Triple H? But it is what it is. It wasn't too bad. Nobody was hurt or harmed, so it was just an unnecessary match, if anything. The final point, Miz TV segment. Miz is upset about this guy being in his home. This guy being Dexter Lumis. He called Dexter Lumis a weak-minded sociopath who broke into his home, drew a picture of his family, and then left. He demands satisfaction. He demands recompense. He called out Dexter Lumis. He got nothing. Then he was trash talking Dexter Lumis in the ring. Dexter Lumis' knife pokes up from the ring. He cuts a square hole in the ring, grabs the Miz by the ankle. Ciampa is trying to save the Miz, ends up getting grabbed himself, and then he bonks. He bonks Dexter Lumis in the head with the microphone. They manage to escape. Then Dexter Lumis revives, bug-eyed, popping his head out of the square hole. They are freaked out and they leave. I'm really interested in where we going with the Miz versus Dexter Lumis. Are they going to go back to zombies? Are we going to go back to zombies? Remember, both of these guys were involved with zombies last year. The Miz got eaten by zombies. Dexter Lumis has a closet full of zombies. Apparently, that he's can sick on people whenever he feels like it. Maybe they'll do some kind of silly zombie match between these two. I might be overthinking it though, because I don't think they're going to do a zombie match. That doesn't seem like Triple H's bag. But I just thought it was weird that both of these guys were involved in zombies last year, and now they're feuding with each other. We still don't have any reason why Dexter Lumis is haunting the Miz. You know, we gotta explain it eventually, right? Some people have even said that the White Rabbit is going to end up being Dexter Lumis. It's like, it's not going to be anybody who's already on TV, you know. But it ought to be very interesting what they choose to do with that whole White Rabbit thing. I'm looking forward to that. They're building this for anticipation, so that was great. Building anticipation for the Survivor Series, War Games. A lot of people are happy about it. I'm not, so they're doing a good job because the bulk of people are excited for it, so they won. So Raw has improved dramatically under Triple H. I'll give them that credit. Judgment Day has unique theme songs that are basically mutated versions of their originals. Not bad. You know, not a bad concept. They're all up on YouTube now, so if you want to listen to Rhea Ripley or Finn Balor's new theme, they're up. That was very cool. And you know, they're getting back on track on the music tip. I haven't seen Triple H miss on the re-musicking, the re-theming of talent. He ain't missed on that yet. So that's good. So overall, I think Raw was a solid show. Again, good matches. Finn on story. But, you know, that's typical of Triple H now. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.